Hi, lovely family. Welcome to your favorite cooking channel, Cooking with Abba. Today, I'm going to be making corned beef egg stew recipe with you, which you can enjoy with any carbohydrate of your choice. And what you need, actually, this was supposed to be corned beef ball stew. So I was going to do corned beef balls and stew it. But unfortunately, I think my corned beef was a bit too mushy, so it didn't form beautifully. But I'm still going to show you the whole thing. Then you can work on it if you want to. So I had the corned beef, then I had some vegetables. And for me, this was the vegetables I loved and I used in there as well. So for my vegetables, I had the onion, then I've got some peas, garden peas, carrot, bell pepper, spring onion, both the white and the green parts in there as well. Then I have my gravy, tomato gravy, which is my base, then local spice, egg, and then cooking oil for it. So I began by opening my corned beef. If you don't know how to open a corned beef, this is how you open it to open it in the easy direction. Don't go and pass over the metal first. Obebre. So yes, I just opened up the corned beef first. Then I took it out. Unfortunately, my corned beef was very moist. And because I was not using breadcrumbs to, it didn't really absorb most of the moisture in this. So I wasn't too successful in there. But I added in the spice to the corned beef to give it a bit of taste in there as well. Then once this was done, I added in an egg. Yes, egg is your binder in there. So you need the egg to help bind the corned beef in there as well. Sometimes people use just the egg yolk, then you use the egg white around it when you are done. Sometimes people mix everything in. Then because I was dieting and I was trying to avoid white flour, I used oat flour in there. But I think my oat flour didn't take enough as well. So it didn't fully firm up in there as well. So it was a bit mushy. But I know it takes its time to rise. What I did was to add just a little bit of pepper to also give me that pepper cake because I love pepper in there as well. So once I was done, I just placed it to sit for a while. But that was going to take a while and there was a hot day. So I just placed it later in the freezer just to get it cold early. Then I could just continue my stew as quick as possible. So for the stew part, I just heated up the pan. Then my gravy base went in. Usually when I do the gravies in large quantities, I just keep the rest in the freezer. So I placed the gravy in, I added in some water. Then I just made sure everything was melted out there. I think what one thing to maybe could have made it not go well was I didn't really get it overly heated before I placed everything in. I wanted it to cook together with the stew and take its time, and then everything cooks properly. Yeah, so once I mixed everything, I poured in the vegetables in as well. Then I added in a bit of salt to give it taste because vegetables need a bit of salt. It was going to taste very bland in there as well. Then I took out the mixture from the freezer. It was a bit cold and so it was firmed up a bit. Then I used my spoons to help me scoop it into smaller balls and then place it in there. You can use your hand in as well. So this is my simple corned beef balls recipe I was doing. But I think the only unfortunate thing was the mixture. Yes, one, because it wasn't too firm in there from the start. And the next thing was the heat as well. So once everything was in, you realize that the fire was still on and it was cooking by itself, slow heat in there. So that went in as well. But I'll redo the corned beef ball stew recipe for you so that you get to do it if you want to. Corned beef ball stew is nice. You can have the corned beef chunky in there as well. You know, Ghanaians, we like our food. We want to feel like yes, I'm eating corned beef. So I'll do that recipe for you as well. But this is one I also got to really love in there as well. And once I was done, I just shook it just to make sure that every part of it was going to be covered with a stew. Then I covered it and allowed it to cook for low heat for it to reduce. Then I opened it up and I realized that, well, some of the balls were still active and then some wanted to just fall apart. And like I said, because the mixture was a little loose, it also didn't help. So yes, at this point, I just wanted it to reduce a little bit more. And I realized a lot of them were just opening up because we're not too firm from the start. So yes, if you're going to do just a corned beef stew, you won't really have to do the ball part. If it's just a simple corned beef stew you are doing, you can just put your corned beef in directly into your vegetable based stew, and then you are good to go. But I'd always recommend you fortify your stews as much as possible. And that's why I had a lot of vegetables in there alongside. And once it didn't form to what I wanted, I didn't want to just do corned beef. I love corned beef with eggs. So I just cracked 5 eggs. Was it five? Yes, I think I did 5 eggs or 4 eggs. 5 eggs, yes. I did 5 eggs onto it. Then I allowed it to cook. Now, um, there are different ways of going about your corned beef stew. One way is this, then I sprinkle some salt on it. I did it like this because I wanted the egg white to form lumps on it. So when you do it, it tastes good. And then I wanted to get a bit of the yolks also firm in there. Mind you, if you are doing this, your eggs have to be very, very fresh. If your eggs are not fresh, you are going to be in trouble. Or the safest you can also do is to crack it into a bowl, then introduce it onto your stew. Because if the egg is spoiled, your whole stew is spoiled. So you have to be very careful when you are doing this. These were very fresh eggs. That's why I did it like this. So when I was done, it simmered for a while. I just mixed everything up in there. Unfortunately, I lost a number of my yolks because it got burst in there as well. But this is very tricky because corned beef, it can easily stick to the pan. And because it was thick by then, if you don't stir, it's just going to end up sticking to the pan and it's going to get burnt in the pan, although there's a bit of water simmering on top. So I had to quickly, you see, realize the base was sticking. I had to just mix it up to avoid it getting bent in there as well. And as you're doing that, the whole taste also blends in beautifully. So this really came out honestly tasting so good. I enjoyed it. I ate this 3 times. Yes, I really did enjoy this recipe. And so if you're just going to do a corned beef egg stew, I won't recommend you do the balls before you come and do this. But if you want to do the corned beef ball stew, then you'd have to go through that process. And you can do your corned beef egg stew this process as well. There are other ways to go about it. I'll share those other ones or other ways of also doing your corned beef egg stew as well. I do this in 3 or 4 ways. Yes. So I'll show you the other ways I go about my corned beef egg stew as well. So yes, once this is done, it's reduced to the lowest. You realize the bubbles are even small, small. The egg is cooked. Everything in here is cooked and is sweet because corned beef is very sweet by nature. So with the eggs too, it's super nice. If you like any other protein in, you can add. If you want to add fish or anything, you can add it in. But corned beef with egg is always nice. And this is good with rice, it's good with plantain, it's good with any carbohydrates of your choice. So I served this with potatoes because I was checking my weight, like I made mention. And so you just enjoy this with your cooked potatoes or any cooked carbohydrates of your preference, and you are good to go. So I hope you do like this recipe. I hope you do try this recipe. If you have any challenges as you're trying it, do come to the comment section and leave your comment. Don't forget to also subscribe, like, and share. Till I see you in the next food session. Live life to the fullest. Be joyous, be merry. Lots of love for my team and I. Mwah.